Cruise control. Oh, yeah. This is a great win for Michigan. Go Blue, everybody. Welcome to Michigan Postgame Live. I just asked before we bring on Dre, please like, subscribe, share with a friend. My name is John Diadamo, and I'm going to take you through the next 30 minutes alongside our co-host. Dre is in the house with us. Go Blue, Dre.
Go Blue. Despite my shirt, go Blue, of course. It's just a Nike, guys. Because historically, John, people have seen me wear different color shirts on here that resemble other teams, and I got crap. It's not an Alabama shirt. It's just a regular Nike Burgundy shirt. Calm down, guys. To have my Michigan gear on earlier, okay? But no, it's a great Saturday and a very very pleasing win to watch as a Michigan fan for sure.
Absolutely. And thanks for everybody coming on. Just as you get in, definitely hit the like button. A couple of quick housekeeping notes before we dive into topics. We do have a sponsor called Ticketsmarter.com. So if you're getting your tickets for $10 off a purchase of $100, use BIG. And for $20 off a purchase of $300, use BIG20 on Ticketsmarter.com. Get your tickets there. And then, of course, our merch store. Get your Voice of College Football merch if you haven't yet. We are offering free shipping, and there's a whole lot of amazing merchandise and products for the whole family, from keychains to mugs. I've got the mug; it's great. You got your t-shirts. You got stuff for pretty much all seasons in here, and then of course Voice of College Football Michigan gear. So get yourself a pint glass or a mug or whatever the case may be, so that you can toast to the Michigan Wolverines. I'm gonna post the link right here so everybody can check that out. Thank you so much for that. Alrighty. So yeah, first topic, obviously, absolute curb stomp, all three phases. But I wanted to give Dre a special shout out to Sharon Moore today. Because there were some doubts going on about can he do both roles. They even talked about in the broadcast that he's the only one who has both OC and O-line responsibilities in the Big Ten. But I think that it was clear from this game that I really do think that his play calling has improved from when he had to share duties with Matt Weiss, because you just see a consistent vision. The fact that they went with Ladarius Henderson and they went with Carson Barnhart, that seems like it was the right move. So I think he did a fantastic job in play calling today. What did you think about Sharon Moore in particular? And what he brought to the table.
Well, I just thought that he did a great job of balancing both the run and the pass, and I think was able to effectively get both the running backs, offensive line, and JJ in a really good rhythm, which can be very tough to do. To get all three parts of your offense feeling comfortable in a rhythm with their particular jobs. I thought today was the best the offensive line has looked. They look dominant. All assignments were made. Running backs, whether it was Donovan Edwards, Mullins, Corm, or JJ making a play with his legs, they were able to do that due to the effective blocking. And I thought that, yeah, I on the same page. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then obviously all three phases we had defensive, great performance on defense and a takeaway there, which of course led to a short field and a second touchdown for Michigan early. So just like it's very nice to see, especially when I had watched before. I was watching USC versus Colorado. And they scored, I think, collectively almost 90 points. And so going from that, and they have a great offense, USC, there's no doubt, but defensively, they're letting Colorado do all kinds of things. And so going from that game to then this game, where Michigan is going to Nebraska, the historic facility that had all of those wins with Tom Osborne and championships and everything else, and they just take it to them. I mean, it was a beautiful thing because we were just here 2 years ago, and it was not like this at all, right?
Absolutely,
Like
yeah. It was a
much
struggle.
closer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, up to like a Adrian Martinez fumble late in the fourth quarter, it was a little bit iffy in that particular game. So absolutely, it was a dogfight trying to get out of there. And also, John, we shouldn't go without mentioning it's the first road game of the season,
Yep.
and they looked better, much better on the road than they did at home. You know, and sometimes I had a feeling that they may need. Sometimes teams need to get away from home a little bit, go on the road, get away from some of the distractions that could be on
Right.
campus. And the only thing that you're thinking about for the next 24 to 48 hours is the game. That's it. And uh, I don't think this. I will say this. I'm not shocked that they've had their best performance of the year on the road. And it's good the next week's on the road too. Have this team maybe put together back-to-back weeks of not just good football but dominant football. Especially at the schedule gets more and more. I don't want to say necessarily difficult, but the stakes get higher. The more wins you pile up and the more certified you get in the college football playoff race, the more important every game is, right? So it's really, really, really pleasing to see that this team is getting better
Right.
throughout the season. And Jim being back fully for his second week on the sideline, I think it's no surprise there that they look better today. Will Johnson was out there. So it's just, man, and let's be honest, if the starters are in the game, they shut out Nebraska. Nebraska doesn't score. If the starters play today, John,
Right.
if Jim wanted to, he probably could have beat Nebraska 60 to zip today.
Yep.
They chose what was that 5:35 left for the third quarter. They pulled JJ out
Yep.
to put in the backup. So
Jack Tuttle.
yeah, they could have made the score look a lot more sexier than it looked, which it looks great.
It looks
But
great.
they could, yeah, 45-7 is amazing. But it's like they could have made it look worse. It wasn't even close today, and
Yeah.
that's what you want to see from the second ranked team in the country. They can't help. These guys can't help who's on their schedule. All they
Right.
can do is dominate when they play them. And they did a really good job of that today.
Yeah, and aside from passing yards, which Nebraska scored on a couple of just feel good plays at the end, which put them ahead in passing yards. But total yards, Michigan 436 to 305. Rushing yards, Nebraska was supposed to have this amazing run defense. Michigan scored 249 on the ground to Nebraska's 106, and you just keep going down. How about time of possession, Dre? 38 minutes for Michigan, 22 minutes for Nebraska. I had said if they could get to 36 minutes, like they did last week, then they were gonna. Michigan was winning that game. They got to 38. So just in almost every metric, Michigan just took care of business in this game, and of course, we've been talking a lot about JJ on the show. Obviously after the Bowling Green situation, which by the way, Bowling Green is beating Georgia Tech right now. Last I saw, 38-20, beating Georgia Tech. So they're pretty good. At least clearly on defense against us, they were pretty good, right? But JJ didn't have to be Superman today, right? Statistically, he was fine. He did obviously make some throws that were ridiculous, including the one to Roman Wilson for the first touchdown. We'll get to him next because he has his own banner. But I thought, today he did what he needed to do. What do you think about JJ today?
I agree. He made the right decisions. He showed all different aspects of what you would want in a really good quarterback: the ability to make the plays that are there, the ability to make plays out of nothing in terms of extending and allowing a play to develop and improvise. and also taking care of the football. So doing the mundane things and also the things that go a little bit extra. And those are those that you just can't. These are the type of games where it's like, man, if this kid can bring this every week, they have a legitimate chance to win the whole damn thing. They really do. I mean, some of the throw that he did to Roman Wilson, going to his left, extended to play, like, mind you, he's right-handed, going to his opposite side, running full stride towards the sideline, to be to keep his eyes down the field, have the spatial awareness where the defense is, and to throw a strike, moving towards your left side. That's very, very difficult. There are not a lot of guys. This is not just some Michigan hype train. There are not a lot of guys in college football that can make that play.
With 20 miles per hour winds.
Yeah. I mean, a strike, not a wobbly ball, like an absolute strike. It was, those are the moments where it's like, wow, that kid looks like he's going to make a lot of money someday besides just NIL, whatever he gets in college. Those are the moments that it really shows. The key with JJ is just consistency and knowing the subtle balance between when those improvising situations happen, when to take it and when not to. Right, because it could be a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
You have a guy who can improvise like that, and I'll give you a good example. There was a play that Caleb Williams had today. He threw a pick versus Colorado, and it was a ball he never should have thrown. The play kind of broke down. He tried to throw it towards the far right sideline. Couldn't get enough on it because he was basically all balanced, and it ended up being a pick. Granted, USC was up, I think, 2 touchdowns, or maybe even 3 at that point. So it wasn't like he could have took the chance, but it's one of those situations where sometimes when a quarterback has really good improvising ability, they can get themselves in trouble because they feel like, I can do anything. I can make something out of nothing. So I think the great ones understand that subtle balance in between, and I believe JJ is getting better with that.
Absolutely. Quick reminder, we do have some new channels. There's an SEC channel, The Voice of College Football, and there's a Big 12 channel at The Voice of College Football. Roman Wilson, Dre, I have to say, the first touchdown. So so first of all, JJ had to put that ball in just the right position. Roman Wilson has to kind of jump up. You have 2 defenders, including one that's literally right there. He has to basically grab the ball with and the other guy's helmet. I mean, it was like playing. He had to grab it. It was such an acrobatic and incredible display. I don't think I've seen a Michigan wide receiver do something like that in a long time. I mean, he has taken at least several steps up in my view based on what we've seen the last few games. But this game in particular, that really set the tone, I felt, Dre, for the entire game when he did that. Just didn't allow Nebraska to do anything.
Yeah, Roman Wilson, he that's a guy where I did not expect to see this advancement in his ability compared to last year. He definitely showed signs last year. I think my perception of him was that he was mostly like a speed guy, more of a deep threat. But he has shown himself to be a legitimate playmaker, like in really good hands, great speed, the ability to, like you said, make acrobatic plays, and then also understanding how to get open once a play breaks down. All that is a skill set in itself. And part of that goes in tandem with having really good chemistry with your quarterback. So no, he's been a pleasant surprise in terms of him. I should say it, him playing elite. He's put out elite plays out there this year. A pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me last year, between Roman Wilson, CJ, Colson Loveland, who will be like the number 1 receiver for Michigan, I wouldn't say Roman Wilson, just purely because I didn't think he had the ability to carry the pass game in that way. But he has, and it's been he's a tough cover because he's not a very big guy. He's quick, he's fast, and he's tough for a lot of these guys to keep up with, especially once a play breaks down. But yeah, man, it's been a sight to see. You know.
Absolutely. And before we get to the defense, there is a lot to really look at here. Blake Corum continues to show why he's the starting running back. He didn't break out like crazy, but because I think this was definitely more the highlight of the pass game and the quarterback run and some of that stuff. But like, when he needs to get 9 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards, he gets it. When he needs to get 5 yards, he gets it. He's we're blessed to have him. I mean, he could have gone to the NFL. Jim Harbaugh told him to go to the NFL, and he still came back. And just scored a touchdown and 74 yards today. So he looked good. I will say it's a little troubling in some ways that Khalil Mullings, although I think it's great that Khalil Mullings is doing well, but the fact that Khalil Mullings seems like he's breaking out more than Donovan Edwards, that to me is a little bit surprising because obviously, Donovan Edwards last year, what he was able to do against Ohio State and the back half of the schedule when Blake went down. I'm a little bit surprised. I think he's still coming back from the injury. But he seems like he's going to be more used as just a wide receiver. Based on what I saw. I mean, what did you think about Khalil and Donovan and what you saw in that aspect?
I was also surprised to see Mullins get the amount of carries he did. But he's a hard runner, and he's a between the tackles type runner, which is very similar to Blake, which I think is more suitable for the way Michigan offense wants to be. I think Donovan's more of a, not saying he can't go between tackles, but I think he's more of a wiggle guy, more of a finesse runner. He's not a guy who kind of goes full speed downhill, is going to run through you. Not saying he can't, but I don't think that's how he naturally is. You know what? Honestly, John, I would like to see them use Donovan more like a Debo Samuel. I think that's more of his type of niche. A guy that you put around the field, all not just line up in the backfield, but when he's lined up in the slot, he's lined up in the outside.
Yeah.
You bring him in motion, you give him reverses, you do all these bubble screens, all these different types of things, and just to get the ball in his hands in space. I think that's more of Donovan's wheelhouse. So if that's where they're trending towards, like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is more the best way to use Donovan. He's not really his most effective,
right,
coming out of the backfield. I'm okay with that. But I do believe that it's important to keep his making dynamic on the field somehow. So I'm fine with that as long as it's with a plan to utilize him in a different way.
Yeah. It is very promising to see Khalil Mullings take a step up, though. I will say that because obviously he had some moments last year where he got stuffed. Obviously, there was the TCU game. So to see him in only 5 carries go 43 yards, eight and a half a carry, that's pretty good for somebody who was playing linebacker a year ago.
Yeah, for a guy that a lot of people were very confused last year when he got had a critical fumble.
Right.
Was it a fumble? I think he fumbled. Didn't he fumble?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the playoff game last year, and people are wondering why the heck is he on the field compared to Donovan Edwards. These are it's like, I guess now we're seeing what the coaching staff saw in him, that this guy could be a hard runner and he could be a thumper, if you will, out of the backfield. So hey, I like what Rob J said. Hassan Haskins was an absolute monster. And he was the what was it? Thunder Lightning? Was he the Thunder or the Lightning between him and Corum? I can't remember who was who. I think it was Thunder.
Thunder.
So and to me that was my my favorite run back tandem in the last 10 years of Michigan football, Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum, because they truly complemented each other in their styles. Different, and it was very, very tough to deal with. And Hassan was just an absolute load, and he got better throughout the game. So if that's what the kid can get close to, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I was also happy to see AJ Barner start to get into the game. You know, I really saw him coming into the season as a like somebody who could come in and make a couple of clutch plays, like a Colston Loveland too. And he was able to get a couple of catches today. Colston Loveland just had that one, but that one was crucial, right? So, I mean, that kept the drive going, right, in a crucial spot of the game. So, the tight ends, it's a rare game where it seems like the tight ends they were used more in like limited clutch moments, which is still great. We still love that, and then obviously the wide receivers were able to do what they do. So, yeah, it's good to see AJ Barner get more into it. I was happy to see that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
overall. Oh, go ahead. Let's go take 4. Sorry.
no, that's good. What were you gonna say?
No, I think overall that and it's taken me some time. Especially since we've turned the corner the last couple of years of Michigan football, to learn how to view this team in the prism of how they look they like to go run their offense stylistically.
Yeah.
Like when Michigan is clicking well, the way their offense is going to look, it's not the way it's going to look like Ohio State looks when they're clicking, or
Mhm.
I don't know, Ole Miss, or USC, like all these high-powered offenses, if you will. That's not how Michigan's going to look when they're clicking well. Michigan's going when the offense, the good signs of the offense is going well. Its offensive line is dominating at the line of scrimmage. Running backs, that initial hole on running plays are open, and Corum, Edwards, Mullins can burst through full speed without being touched and able to do damage at the second and third levels of the defense. It's JJ being able to be on time with his throws and guys
Mhm.
being able to catch it in rhythm. That's how you know with this particular offense if it's going the way it should look. So I'm saying that to remind myself and to remind other people out there. When you watch Michigan play, you have to realize stylistically how they want to do things and what are the signs, good and bad signs, of things trending in that particular direction.
Absolutely. No, it's when you see, like you said, when you see it clicking, it's great. Joel Klatt made a reference that Michigan's kind of like this panther, where it might take a minute for it to really get you, but once it gets you, it gets you. And he was using that analogy for the Rutgers game. Is it like it took a minute to really come together, but when it did, it really did. And so that seems to be the type of game that Michigan likes to play. Today, it was just all out, like the whole thing start to finish. But it's not going to be like that every week. And if it's like it was against Rutgers, that's fine too, right? That's also okay. We don't have to light it up all the time, as long as
Just win, just
just
win,
just win.
and also you want the team to look good, of course. But the main thing is that you win and you do it in a very clean way. You
That's what
know,
it was.
you
Boa
never,
constrictor. Sorry, I
yeah.
was searching for the animal. Yes, boa constrictor. Thank you. I appreciate that, everybody. Cool. So, yeah, and I'm actually going to change this real quick to Braden McGregor and Kenneth Grant, because on the defense today, these two both made some crucial plays. Obviously, Braden McGregor, key stop on 4th and 1. Kenneth Grant with the interception. These two are these. I mean, McGregor looked really good today. I thought, and just you kept seeing his name called, and that's when you know things are good. So I think both of these players are probably some of our best on the field.
Yeah, yeah, and also the bigger picture is like I just like the aggression of the defense. Like you heard, Pat's a great sound for teams when you hear pass clacking when guys are hitting out there. Like their tackling was violent yet fundamental, uh, physical, and smart. And that's what you want to see from this type our Michigan defense, especially with us not having necessarily game records on a defensive line. Like I think it's pretty clear that we don't necessarily have we don't have an Aiden Hutchinson on this particular team, right? And granted, most teams don't have an Aiden Hutchinson every
Yeah.
particular year.
He's next level.
Yeah,
He's a special guy.
he is
All
a
right.
special guy.
I was watching him in the game the other day. He's a
Right.
special guy.
Yeah, he's a special guy, right? But even a David Ajabo, like Ajabo was really, really, really good. So Rashawn Gary, we don't have that particular guy on this defensive line, but we have a group of good players who are good at their particular roles. And the same thing with the linebackers and the secondary. And I think what I like about this defense is that they're fundamentally sound. They don't typically make mistakes, and they tackle very well. And as long as you do that, for the most part, you'll be able to, be a very efficient on defense.
Yeah. And like I've always said, Jesse Minter's defense very systematic. And it'll get you whatever you decide to do. If you notice, Hardberg wasn't able to really get out and run as much as I expected him to. So I think that that's a testament to the practicing that they did all week, that they were able to stop him from, because he's a running quarterback for sure. They forced him to be a pocket quarterback, and that's really not his strength. He can throw the ball and he can make a couple of decent plays, but like in all the film I watched on him, and I literally watched, almost all the plays he had against Louisiana Tech and NIU, and he is a running quarterback all the way. Mm-hmm. He can beat most defenders with his legs. So the fact that the defense was able to stop that almost entirely, it was really impressive. I will say, in terms of take number 5 here, the one thing, and again, this is real nitpicky, but we want to win a national title here, so we're gonna dive into everything. And I am gonna say that Will Johnson, and he's one of our best, but he did whiff on a couple today.
Yeah.
And so like Keon Sabb whiffed on one that went for a lot of yards for Nebraska. These are things that, when we're looking at playing Drew Aller, or we're looking at playing Kyle McCord, or we're looking at playing Caleb Williams, or whoever it winds up being, right down the stretch. Quinn Ewers, right? That seems to be more and more likely as we go. Texas is looking great. So whoever it is, we're gonna need Will Johnson to play his best ball. We're gonna need Keon Sabb and Rod Moore to play their best ball. And there were some plays today where there were some blown. I wouldn't call it completely blown coverages, but there were some whiffs. I'll call them whiffs. Where Nebraska was able to get. And it's hard to nitpick when, like, literally the only score they got was the feel-good touchdown almost at the end of the game. But we're shooting for it all this year, Dre.
Yeah, and John, that's the way you have to go about it. When you've got to the point where Michigan has set this new standard of now it's the national title or bust, in terms of that's the only thing left for them to do. You can only nitpick at, what are the small things, the small details that can keep them from doing that. Now, Will, I'm not too worried about. I think part of what you see is a guy who just hasn't played a lot of football lately. He's missed some time. He's probably still getting his legs under him, getting his rhythm. So, Rob just said that, Will needs to gain shape after almost a year. I think mostly with him, he just needs to get back on the field to get in the rhythm. He'll be fine. Yep. I'm not worried about him. I've seen enough of that kid to know that he's a player. He has great instincts. And that, I can almost guarantee you that he's going to make a big play at some point this season that's going to be very, very important. But in terms of everybody else, like you said, it's you want to steal things. tied up. One thing about Penn State is really interesting is that they've had 2 games this year, both both versus Illinois and versus Northwestern, where there are points in those games where it's like, you guys are sleepwalking, kind of similar to Michigan in a way. You guys kind of sleepwalking a little bit. What's going on?
Right.
Um, I know, like, I think Penn State ended up winning by like 30 plus points today, but like it was not like that in the first half. It was like 10
No.
10 going into
Right.
halftime. So, um, so Penn State has their own issues, and I'm looking forward to playing them. I really am. It's going to be interesting. But even with Ohio State, watching their game versus Notre Dame last week, some people, it's funny, the whole Ryan Day, and I'm sure you hit on that on Wednesday, John, but the whole Ryan Day, losing
Oh, we
his,
hit on it. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
his post game interview, and some people took from that game that, Ohio State, they proved that they can get physical. I mean, didn't Notre Dame have like damn near 200 rushing yards? I mean, for the most part, Notre Dame was able to run the football pretty effectively, like they wanted to. And I thought they made more mistakes to let Ohio State come back to the game more than Ohio State
Yep.
just snatching it from them. So look,
Yep.
it's interesting, the
10,
overall point.
10 men on the field
Yeah,
on the
twice,
final 2 plays of the game. How
twice,
about that?
twice. I mean, the when your team is running the football very effectively, you choose to do a screen pass, like just little silly stuff. Where I thought Marcus Freeman and his coaching staff, that they really did the players a disservice. Anyway, the point is that the 2 teams that I think are our biggest challengers, they still both look very vulnerable in their particular ways as well. So I still believe, without a doubt, Michigan is the best team in this conference, and um, and I feel pretty good about where they're going. I really do.
Yep. Jason with a great point. Simaj Morgan is going to be a stud, and so is Tyler Morris. You saw Tyler Morris on punt return. Take like literally was almost a bobbled, like huge disaster, but he's able to catch it. He's able to not only survive it, but go for like 20 some yards. I forget the exact number, but like a lot. He went for some yardage on that. He's legit. They're both, yeah. I think they're both going to have a solid amount of playing time in the future, for sure, Jason.
Well, look, we're trying to keep this train going, man. Once you get to this level of play with your program, you want to find out ways to stay in the very good to elite category. You don't want to go down, and like, gotta be recruiting, gotta be to develop. I feel really good about Davis coming in next year, and I think it'll behoove. Obviously, this coach staff do whatever they can do to land Bryce Underwood. He has a lot of suitors out there. It's gonna be
Right.
very tough to keep him at
Yes.
home, but look, that's what it's about, man. Got to keep finding ways to replenish that stable.
Absolutely, absolutely. So with that said, a couple of quick reminders to when you're doing your shopping on Amazon to click the Voice of College Football link in any description. Get Mark Rogers a couple of bucks, and join either our Patreon or YouTube membership. Okay, and you'll get access to our Discord chat. You'll get access to Mark's betting guide and Steve Merrill's under the radar picks, which are I think he's something like 16-1 or 15-1 against the spread, something ridiculous like that. You could potentially win some money. We never promised that, but Steve is doing pretty well. Obviously, Mark is doing pretty well too. We do watch parties. We just had a watch party last night, I believe, and so there's a lot of fun stuff that we do as part of our Patreon and YouTube membership, and it starts at $2.99 for a YouTube membership. That's all. So just find it in your couch cushions and join up, because it's a great time. So Jack Tuttle is, I think, solidified himself now officially as the backup quarterback by nature of being able to throw some passes that were completed. um, so that happened, which was really great to see. The game continued. The game didn't stop when JJ McCarthy
Yeah.
was rested for the day, which was nice to see as well, Dre.
Absolutely. Look, the backup quarterback situation is always very important, especially a team like Michigan that has high aspirations, because you're always one play away from that guy being in. And God forbid something serious, but let's say even if it's something minor, but it's enough to let's say JJ takes a hit and it's in concussion protocol, right? And he can't come back in that particular game. Now he may be back the following week, in games going forward, but you need somebody that can help you get through that particular game, right? Or or a road ankle or something like that. Like it is incredibly important to have a adequate backup quarterback, a guy who can come in and the offense doesn't just fall off a cliff. Especially with the way, and the good thing about the Michigan offense is that we are predicated on a run, so we will be able to insulate whoever is back there from a backup quarterback perspective. But the main thing you want to see is that, okay, can you make the on schedule throws if it's third and short? Can you be smart with the football and make
5 yards?
Right. Can you just keep the train going? Don't need you to do anything special, but can you keep us moving down the field? And Jack Tuttle did that, and that's great to see.
Yep. And that's like you said, it's one bad play and it's next player up.
Right.
So that was one thing that really concerned me, is that when you went from JJ to the backups, it went
Big
from
drop off.
It went from a Mercedes Benz to a 1980s
A
Ford.
hoopty.
Like fucking
a hoopty.
hoopty. So it's good to see that Jack Tuttle can go in there. The run game can continue, of course, but then you keep him honest with a 5-yard pass to a tight end or something like that. That's really all Michigan needs in their backup. So that's great to see for sure. And then this is kind of my final question to you, Dre, to the chat. Looking at the landscape of college football, looking at the fact that Georgia was really struggled today, really Alabama obviously seemed to be missing a step a little bit. A lot Clemson, which was the power for a long time in the ACC, is struggling. So in my mind, this season, this whole college football season is shaping up for Michigan to have a really good shot at winning the national championship. It just seems like a lot of the people who traditionally are at the top are having a lot of struggles. Meanwhile, Michigan goes into Nebraska and takes it to them. Dre, what do you think? I mean, just in terms of the landscape of college football and what Michigan has a shot.
Well, I don't necessarily believe that their chances have gone up. I thought their chances were higher in general coming to the season, regardless, because I thought that landscape was like that to begin with. Like I thought that due to the court, especially at the quarterback position, the attrition that Georgia had, losing a guy like Stetson Bennett, Ohio State, not having necessarily that next guy, if you will, in waiting, was going to be interesting to see. Bama, same thing. So like you saw, and you saw like an opening where, like, hold on a second, Michigan may have one of the, in terms of the playoff teams last year, they have the only returning starting quarterback. You really look at things like, okay, hold on a second here. Like this is one of those rare windows where if you think when Michigan's at their best year over year, you slide them in the top 5, top 6 programs in the country. And if you want to say they are, this is at least how I always viewed them, maybe a slight notch below the elite teams, right? They're always very, very good. But if you put Michigan at their best and Bama and the Georgias at their best, Michigan's never quite at their level, maybe a slight step below them, right? I'll just view this year as not quite being like that. I don't think that the Georgias, Alabamas, LSU, whatever, FSU now, I'm going to throw them in there. They're now in the mix. I just don't see it like that. I don't see any elite team, if you will, at college football. I think there are maybe 4 or 5 really good teams. Michigan, Georgia. You could throw FSU in there, but we'll see based on how the ACC kind of plays out. But USC is Texas. So it's like this thing where it's like I see really good teams, but nobody looks unbeatable. No, it's not like this is what 2 years ago where Georgia had like 10 NFL players collectively, maybe 12. It's not like that. So no, Michigan has a very legitimate chance to win it all. And as long as they continue to do what they've been doing, John, getting better week to week, they're going to find themselves with really good opportunity come New Year's.
I agree. And apparently Bowling Green did beat Georgia Tech 38-27. So Bowling Green, who gave Michigan a little bit of trouble. They beat Power 5 program. They beat Georgia Tech. Although you could argue, is Georgia Tech really a Power 5 program? They
probably not, but they're in the ACC. You know what? A MAC school beating an ACC school is still something.
Right.
So like it's. I'll tell you one thing. You're not going to tell Bowling Green fans not to be happy today.
They're going to be out parading and
absolutely
and parties and all kinds of things.
Absolutely.
100%.
So yeah, you know what, John, and it's a bigger topic besides just a post-game show, but I think another thing you're seeing is the impact of NIL and the transfer portal. There's just a lot more the parity, if you will, in college football. Now, it'll never be like the NFL. NFL is total parity for the most part. Like, that's why the spreads in NFL games are typically, not that large. College is one of those things where talent really does. There's huge talent disparities. But I think with the transfer portal and NIL, you're seeing some of that talent more spread out. That's why Alabama now is not as dominant as they used to be, because they're not just hoarding all the dominant kids coming out year to year, so you're going to see more quote unquote upsets and, things that don't quite make sense, or, maybe as opposed to two dominant teams, you're going to have 6 or 7 really good teams. Right. So I think that's another thing that you're seeing too.
Absolutely. So before we wrap, a couple of reminders of what's coming up. Mondays, 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern is Big Ten Live. I host the 8 p.m. block that's called the Ocho, and we bring on the voice of college football community to talk about all the Big Ten games. So we're going to have a lot to discuss on Monday for sure. Michigan Wolverines Live is at our new time. So by popular demand, because people have work and people have other things, we are moving the show, and we just had our first show on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And so Tanner Wooten showed up from Blue by 90. John Johnston showed up from Corn Nation, and we had a nice turnout. So people seem to be resonating with the new time after hours, which is good to see. Don't forget to tune into 30-Minute War with myself and Buckeye Mike Wednesdays at 8 p.m. on the Buckeye Mike channel. We go at it, and we really went at it this past one with all the Ryan Day stuff. So go check that out for a lot of third base references.
I see what you did there.
on that show. So definitely that, and finally, there will be a big wrap-up show, 11:30 p.m. or even sooner than that, with Mark Rogers, voice of college football, on the main channel. So call into that, give your take on things, let Mark know what you thought about today's games. But with all that said, Dre, any final thoughts, and where can people find you?
Well, you can find me. You can follow me on Twitter. You have my my ticker. There it is. There, guys, please give me a follow on Twitter. I'm gonna try. I now appear more on the weekly show now that the time has changed. I'm gonna pop in every now and then. But yeah, awesome. Like it's just, it feels good. Have a great win like today, and just keep moving forward. And we want to get better week to week and go blue.
Go Blue, Dre, and go Blue to everybody in chat. And we will see you next time. Like I said, join us at 11:30 for the wrap-up show.
Go Blue.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. Go Blue.